Yes, my brothers and sisters, here is where I continue constitutional reform. Now, brothers and sisters, this is an article from the Thursday, 7th of March 2013, page 9 in the Express, headline, "No More Privy Council," a story by Rhea Tate. And it went on to say this: Attorney Vernon Dilemma has called for the abolition of appeals to the Privy Council, making the local court of appeal the final court for criminal matters. He was clear that he did not mean the Caribbean Court of Justice, abbreviated as the CCJ. He also called on the abolition of all recourse to international human rights institutions so that we can impose the death penalty, which is the law of Trinidad and Tobago. Dilemma, who received applause for his statement, was speaking at the National Consultation on Constitutional Reform at the Himalaya Club, Barataria, on Tuesday night. Dilemma was asked by Justice Sebastian Ventor whether he was asking if the Court of Appeal would be the final court for criminal matters indomitably. Dilemma replied, "The CCJ, you then reject outright?" "Absolutely," Dilemma stated. However, at least one member of the audience disagreed with the proposal to reject the CCJ. Dilemma, who has been a criminal lawyer for 46 years, said the situation with crime was so outrageous that it should hold a position of preeminence in the discussion on constitutional reform. He said he felt very strongly on the issue of crime, particularly murder. Dilemma said, from 1970 to now, crime had grown into an uncontrollable monster, and criminals now seem to be in charge of Trinidad and Tobago. How true? The present coalition party. But let me go on. He said he would like Trinidad and Tobago to abolish appeals to the Privy Council altogether, or at least give final jurisdiction to the Trinidad and Tobago Appeal Court for criminal matters. Things have changed drastically, and it is either we have confidence in our independent status or we do not, he said. He said there were good judges and good people in this country, but they have been ridden over by the criminals. Dilemma stated, and I am suggesting that one of the things we seriously consider is abolish all this recourse to the international institutions so that we can impose the death penalty on these criminals, which is the law of the country, he said to applause. Dilemma said the time was right now to send a signal to these vagabonds out there who are killing our women and our children and our elderly folk that we do not intend to tolerate this any longer. Now, brothers and sisters, this type of utterance is the utterances of a dictator when mentioning to abolish all human rights recourse. It is a very serious statement to make in a nation like this, where we stand for transparent democracy, human rights, and the respect for rule of law. So, my brothers and sisters, let me indicate that Vernon Dilemma has been sensationalizing these murders, but I can tell you that Vernon Dilemma was an attorney for a a large drugs lord in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, he was executed for murder. But nevertheless, and I can tell you some of the practices by some of the attorneys that was representing this drugs lord in those days. Now, my brothers and sisters, this is just a highlight of what I am speaking about. There were the days when a certain lawyer had come to the understanding that once a witness does not appear in court, the accused may go free. And such was the practice. Nevertheless, there was a strategy invented or an idea that came up from one of these attorneys who had advised this drugs lord that once a witness is dead, he will walk free. And from time to time, this drugs lord had been charged for numerous offenses, including murders on separate occasions. And on these occasions, if you go back in history, you are going to see that these witnesses against this individual, they were all murdered. And the assistance from these attorneys was to use delaying tactics so that the matter may not proceed before the witness comes to give evidence. So basically it is to say that they were playing for time for the witness to dead. So when you hear these men and them come out and talk about murder and all that thing from 19th century, crime going uncontrollable monster and all this kind of thing about killing women and children. Right now what's going on in the country is urban warfare. And these urban warfares was created as a result of political elements giving these men lucrative contracts. And these contracts that they have been receiving the money from it is what had been able to help them in financing and launching gang warfare. My brothers and sisters, again, let me tell you that these judges and people that Mr. Dilemma is claiming to be good and all these sorts of things, let me tell you that these judges has been making questionable decisions in murder cases, in other cases, and they have been using delaying tactics, as we just say, justice delayed is justice denied, in keeping certain people in prison for a long time with different things like retrials and all these different types of delaying tactics that they use. Or they come about with the idea, well, insufficient evidence, or they didn't receive a particular document or some sort of, or something or the other, or a document didn't come from the DPP office and all these kind of things. Now, I can tell you that in the Taco Boja murder trial is one of the cases that had tested the judicial system in Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, my brothers and sisters, this matter has brought the state in what you call a stalemate. Another matter, my brothers and sisters, you can review it, and it is public knowledge that if you go on Google and type in the name Nigel Rajkumar, you are going to see that that individual had taken action against the state for unlawful detention in a matter where the state had kept the applicant in prison for 14 days. And my brothers and sisters, the prison had accepted that applicant from members of the crime suppression unit who was escorting him at that time due to the fact that he was an high profile prisoner and he was placed in a cell. That matter was filed before the High Court, before Justice Mira Dina Mora. And you know what was the outcome of that matter? That the applicant was lying. So what they are saying is that circumstantial evidence, if you may say, or the document that was read from the authorities, from the court, from the prison, shows that this man came to prison and spent 14 days, which was denying him of his liberty. So it meant to say that he was unlawfully detained. Now, that matter is one of the matters that has plagued the mind of that applicant, and people never really scrutinize and dig into these matters and ask a question. But before I go on further, the applicant had intention of appealing such matter and was manipulated by the attorney that had represented him. And the manipulation style was that, hey, I had to talk to our next lawyer to file an appeal for you. And since then, nothing never came out of that. So a injustice, a grave injustice was meted out to that applicant. Nevertheless, let me go on further. Now, I am going to address another matter that was before the courts, and anyone who could find that document and read that document, it will tell you that judges and magistrates, they have been making decisions that are inconsistent with evidence that had been admitted in the court, and they have been making decisions based on other reasons rather than the evidence of what they are to decide upon. But nevertheless, my brothers and sisters, I please ask you all to reconsider what is constitutional reform. And right now, this present coalition government is not the people that we should be having a discussion like that with, seeing the fact that they are bringing our state into what you call a creeping dictatorship, or it may be that they are guiding us into what we will call a bloody civil war. So brothers and sisters, let us come forward. We have to march against this, and let us march in a peaceful and respectable manner. And this marching and protesting is not like what's going on in Trinidad here, you know, people clapping and ponging pan and they're shaking shack and is, we want we money and we want this and we want that and we want the other, and these people that's sitting down in high offices and watching and laughing. You can remember the lock Watson Duke inside one of them buildings in Port of Spain when he was protesting for workers' rights, to elevate workers and enhance their lifestyle and their styling of living and all these things. The cost of living today, my brothers and sisters, require that workers receive a better pay package and better benefits and compensations, because right now there are people who have 2 and 3 jobs. There are people who have executive posts like CEO at this and CEO at that and manager at that and director at this and director at the other, and their salaries is 80 and 90 and 40 and 50,000. Okay, brothers and sisters? So please, again, this is constitutional reform, and this was just a slight touching on constitutional reform. There are many other debates where constitutional reform is concerned, and a topic like that really guides and governs how our human rights are being used and how it is being respected and all these different things. Accountability is the word where our human rights is concerned, and we cannot let these people and them trample upon that. Okay, my brothers and sisters, so I will go on to address the section 34 fiasco.